Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 87-116 loss to the Orlando Magic, and my god, this game was brutal. This was a brutal watch for a Toronto Raptors fan. You know, it started off pretty fine. Midway through the second, it looked like we had a solid hold on this. The Orlando Magic have lost 4 straight. They're now 15-19. You know, the Raptors are coming in. They've been struggling a bit as of late, but a lot of that has been due to injuries. You know, a lot of our players have been out. Obviously, Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell, Jonas not playing tonight. So, but you expect to beat the Magic. You know, we still have Kawhi, we still have Siakam, we still have Ibaka, we still have a solid roster of players. But tonight, you know, we started off strong, and then about midway through the second quarter, the wheels completely fell off for the Toronto Raptors. They just let the Orlando Magic completely take over this game, and it was honestly embarrassing to watch. You know, the Raptors are no longer the first seed in terms of win percentage, and you know the Bucks have caught up to us, and we've lost some games. And not only have we lost, even the games we've won, you know, we've had stretches where we played really well. We're still a very talented team, have a phenomenal roster, but there's been, even the games we've won, we've had stretches where we've just not looked good. You know, even we can look back at the Miami game. The first half in that one was just abysmal, and tonight was just, I'm kind of just speechless. The guys out there just didn't look motivated. They didn't look into the game. When the Orlando Magic they didn't even throw a haymaker. They just came back and threw a punch. You know, the Raptors were up, and then they went on a little run, and the Raptors gave in, you know, to the Orlando Magic. You know, no disrespect to the team. They're maybe not as bad as their record shows. They still got some decent talent. You know, I'll give them some credit before I flame the Raptors. Aaron Gordon's a solid player. Nikola Vucevic tonight played really well, 30 and 20 for him. No Jonas, obviously, no big man on the other side to really defend him. Greg Monroe's a big guy, but he can't defend. And Serge Ibaka's a bit smaller, so it was a tough matchup on the Raptors' big men, but still, you can't let him go for 30 and 20, but solid game for him. You know, DJ Augustine, we cut DJ Augustine a few years back from our backup. He was literally waived by our team, and he had 17 points. Jonathan Isaac had a really solid game for them. Everyone on the Magic just had a solid all-around game, and T. Ross even came off the bench. He's been pretty good this season, so I'll give T. Ross some credit. But yeah, we're gonna just talk about the Raptors right now, because this game is more about the Raptors just looking completely abysmal than it was the Magic. Not to take anything away from the Magic, but if the Raptors played half of what they should have played, it would have been a much closer game. You know, it wasn't like the Magic had a completely out, you know, hitting tough shots. Our defense was not engaged. Our offense wasn't clicking. You know, Kawhi Leonard played a solid, especially the first half, 21 points and 6 rebounds. The game was close in the first half until the end of the second quarter, and a lot of that was due to Kawhi just bullying his way into the paint and all those sorts of things. Pascal Siakam was really disappointing tonight in a game where when Jonas isn't there, and the Toronto Raptors are playing against a more traditional NBA team, and obviously the Magic are with Vucevic and even Mo Bamba, you know, 2 proper, legitimate NBA centers, and we need to be able to take advantage, at least on the offensive end. You know, it's going to be tough to ask too much for our bigs to dominate the rebounds and all that sort of stuff, but when you play small ball, you got to be able to attack and take advantage of the slower big men out there. In the front court, if you're a smaller front court, you got to use your agility. You know, Siakam's a quick guy, he can get to the rim and all those sorts of things. He has the skills. You know, I thought he'd be an all-star. The way he's been playing recently, it's not looking like it. It's looking like I'm going to lose that bet with Riker, at least right now. But he has to take advantage. You know, he can't be shooting 1 for 8 from the field. He has to be going to the rim. And the reason the big man has disappeared in today's NBA is because when you run smaller big men, you have to draw the other team's posts away. You know, Siakam, I guess they have a pretty mobile power forward in Orlando, so Siakam still has to do better. You know, you can't let a guy like Aaron Gordon completely shut him down. But Serge, you know, he's worked on his handle, and if he's going to be around the three-point line, draw Vucevic out of the paint. I know Serge wasn't completely awful tonight. You know, he wasn't one of our worser players, but offensively, you got to take advantage. You have to take advantage when on the offensive end. For what you give up in size, you need to make up for in attacking the rim, being more mobile, being a free-flowing offensive team. Raptors didn't do that tonight, and that was very disappointing. You know, Fred VanVleet really didn't shoot the ball too well tonight. Him and Danny Green also wasn't shooting the ball at a very high, consistent clip. 2 of them looked like they were injured. They both had ice packs on them on the bench, so it's unfortunate. The team has dealt with so many injuries, so I'm trying not to overreact too much to this loss, but it wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look for the team. CJ Miles, he's fallen out of the rotation, and you see why. You see why in this game. 0 for 5 from the 3-point line, 1 for 9 from the field. CJ cannot... You can't run him on the floor right now. It's to the point where, even with all the injuries, even with half our team being out, CJ is unplayable. He's unplayable because he never really gave you much on the defensive end regardless, but he can't throw the ball in the ocean. He can't... If you put him on a boat 100 miles away from shore, he wouldn't be able to drop the ball in the ocean. He wouldn't be capable right now because he can't hit a shot. He can't do it. He's not doing anything on the defensive end. He's not a creator. He doesn't pass well for people. When he does pass on those drives, it's usually a turnover. And his drives themselves, that makes my eyes want to bleed because he's just... It's DeMarre Carroll-esque how out of control he is. And I hate hating on CJ Miles because he's a very likable guy. He's a great... you see him in interviews and all that. He's very likable. He's great, gives great quotes. So it's really unfortunate how bad he's been playing. I think Nick Nurse just has to completely take him out of the lineup with and give Chris Boucher a run. When Norm is out, it's very unfortunate because Norm has been playing very well recently. And condolences, his grandfather died, so he wasn't able to play tonight. But when you have Norm or let's just say OG and other wing players out, you got to run Boucher. You have to run Boucher because CJ's just not providing it. CJ's not providing, and the one bright spot from this game was Chris Boucher. He came in this game the last 9 minutes, hit 3 threes, was mobile, had 2 blocks, and personally, I've been a greater skeptic on Chris Boucher than most Raptors fans, just because of his sheer size. You know what I mean? I know he played very well in the G League and in the Summer League. I always thought he deserved a shot to get some proper rotation minutes, just see how he does, because he is skilled. But I was a bit skeptical because of his he's a small guy, it's tough to be a front court player in the league when you're that light and he doesn't have nearly the handle of Pascal Siakam, but every time he's out there he produces, he plays really well, so he deserves a legitimate chance, and he's earned a spot in the rotation over CJ Miles. If Norm misses more time, if there's OG goes out, another player goes out, CJ Miles should not be playing over Chris Boucher. After what we've seen of Chris Boucher, he at least deserves a couple games to really show what he can do, because he's never really been given a chance this season, a real solid chance to show what he do for a stretch of games. So Chris Boucher's earned his way into the rotation. Whether he can stay there or not, how he can do with legit NBA minutes, we'll see. But he's earned his shot. He's earned his opportunity. He's playing really well. So shout out to Chris Boucher. Lorenzo Brown came in, didn't hit any shots. We got Malachi hit a couple free throws. He was the only bench guy. He was the only guy in garbage minutes that played very well. So shout out to Chris Boucher. OG, he really didn't do anything in times that mattered. OG, he had 8 points. He had a couple threes, which is nice to see. He's 2 for 2. But when the games are down, OG is a player that's supposed to be one of our best guys off the bench. He was a starter all last season. We really need him to have more of an impact when the game matters. And it's unfortunate he's been up and down all year. I want to see some more consistency out of OG Anunoby. It's nice that he hit a couple threes, but he needs to be better. OG needs to be better, and he's got to get better at his free throws. Delon Wright, 31 minutes for Delon Wright. Fred, you could tell Fred was hurt tonight. Delon got most of the run. And frankly, I've been very underwhelmed by Delon Wright all season. I mentioned on multiple podcasts, but I really wanted to stay here tonight. He's been given a lot of opportunities, and his 3-ball is improved, I think, from last season. But, with all those minutes, 2 for 8 from the field, only 6 points. He had 6 assists, which was nice. But people were saying if Delon Wright could get a jump shot, he could be a starter in the NBA. He could be a legitimate player. He could be a legitimate starter. People were a lot saying that. We had a debate at the beginning of the year that Delon Wright could compete with Danny Green at the starting 2-guard position. And, the unfortunate thing is he's got the jumper now. He's got a pretty decent, his jumper's a lot better from last season. I know it's more of a set shot. He can't really do it off the dribble, but he's at least a threat from the 3-point line, and he doesn't look that much improved. It honestly looks like he's regressed from last season, in my opinion. He's having less of an impact, and I was really hoping that this year would be a nice little jump for Delon, especially with that 3-point shot, but he doesn't seem to have an impact. He's out there on the court, and it doesn't look like he's doing anything. He's one of those guys. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins is a much more talented player, but he has the Andrew Wiggins effect where he doesn't seem to impact the game that much. And that's not something that was the case for Delon Wright in past seasons. even when he wasn't super good, he was a bit raw when he came out of college, he'd still impact the game on the defensive end. He'd do all these sorts of things. But even last season with the bench mob, he was an integral member of that mob. Just being on the court, having that free-flowing offense. Delon Wright was a huge part of that, and being able to get to the rim and create. And he still has great moves. He still does things, but none of them seem to have a proper impact on the game. And maybe no one talks about Delon Wright. No one has been talking about him this season, and I think he's been one of the bigger disappointments for the Toronto Raptors. CJ Miles is obviously the biggest. He's just completely fallen off a cliff. But, I don't think there's anyone else that's been more disappointing than Delon. So let me know in the comment section what your thoughts on Delon this season have been. I was hoping for a better game from him. This game was just horrible to watch, in my opinion. It's the second half. It really hurts me to see, when you watch games, if the Orlando Magic were just hitting everything, they were on some dumb stuff, and the Raptors had no chance tonight. But it wasn't that. The Raptors gave up on this game, and it was really unfortunate to watch. Really unfortunate. The Raptors have gone through stretches this season, stretches in games where this has happened. A lot of times they're able to bounce back. It only happens for a quarter or two, and it really only happened for the third quarter and the end of the second. In the fourth, they were fine, but the game is out of hand, out of reach at that point. And we can't have these type of lapses happen. This can't be the case. This can't be the reality for our team. I don't get too worried. We always say that the regular season, we're worried about the playoffs mostly. This year, if we lose a game or two, it's fine. But the fact that we're having such big collapses on such a consistent basis through stretches. Most games we usually bounce back, and that's why all our games are close. But the fact that for stretches we can be so bad, it's a mental thing. It's something mental, and we can't have... These are the types of things that happen to us in the playoffs. And this is something that can't happen for this team when games matter. So we really don't... It's fine if we lose games, if players are off and all that sort of stuff. I know we have injuries, but to completely give up on a game for a full stretch, it sucks. It's not a habit we want to get into. So that's my biggest worry from this game. I'm not horrified about this team. Maybe we are a piece away, because every loss, everyone goes out there on the comment section, everywhere on Raptors platforms, and they say that the Toronto Raptors need to trade and do all this sort of stuff. I've never been about that, but maybe we do need a player, especially with all the injuries we've been having. And we just made a meme video about bringing back Andrea Bargnani. For the people that don't know, that's a joke. That is a joke. We got a lot of comments believing that was serious. We don't actually want Andrea Bargnani back. He's washed up, and he was never very good in the first place, but he's a quality meme. I'd bring him back for the memes, but we don't actually want him. But if we could get a legitimate player, that'd be cool. But I think injuries have a large part to do with the struggles that we've had this season. Hopefully we're healthy going, regardless of what fringe player we get, we need to be healthy going to the playoffs if we want success. That's just the reality. Nonetheless, we're going to get swinging straight into the segments. Tonight, the Kawhi Doom Like That play of the day. It's going to Kawhi himself. He had a nice double cross, mid-range pull. Really nice shot. Kawhi's out here. He always makes great plays. So shout out to Kawhi. Kawhi, the segment's named after him, so especially if it's a rough game and there wasn't much that stood out, he's usually going to get it. He's usually going to get the Kawhi Doom Like That, but not all plays can be the Kawhi Doom Like That play of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the oh, geez play of the day. It's the plays. CJ Miles, he was given an opportunity. He fell out of the rotation last game, came in, and just really, really couldn't find his stroke. And every time he shot it and missed, it made me say, oh, geez. Really tough to watch. CJ, just take a month, bro. Just take a month. Don't play any games. Get your head right. Maybe see a sports psychologist. Shoot 1,000 threes a day, probably more, and get your groove back, because you've been a solid player in the NBA, and shooters usually don't get this bad with age. Athletic players do, people that rely on athleticism, but you've relied on a jump shot for so long in your career. It's very weird to see you fall off a cliff like this in terms of shooting, so just get right, because you're a solid player. I'm not giving up on you as a player, but for the next month, I'm giving up on you. Get it all together, CJ. Rock those PJs, get some good night's sleeps. And finally, the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. I feel like I could have started this podcast saying that the Raptors get the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award, so I'm just going to give it at that. The DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award, it's going to the Raptors. It's going to everything that I mentioned, because I don't think I brought up many positive things in this podcast. So, the whole team's getting the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed. But I want to end this podcast on a positive note. So Terrence Ross played really well. I haven't watched many Magic games, but apparently he's having a really good season. That might be wrong. Let me know if that's the case. But that's what I've heard, the word around the street. He had 14 points tonight. Shot pretty consistent. Hit some wild shots. I love seeing my guy T. Ross do well. Maybe one day he'll come back. It doesn't look right seeing him not in a Raptors uniform. I know he has a very divided opinion amongst Raptors fans. Riker really doesn't like him. I really like the guy. He's very inconsistent, but he's just a good guy to have around. Maybe one day he'll be back in a Raptors uniform. Just wanted to end this podcast on a positive note. It's a depressing game. We gotta give T. Ross love to end it off. Well, anyways, you're the best for making it this far. I've rambled long enough. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all the cool stuff. We've been off on the Twitter for a little bit. This season, the Twitter has been a bit off its game. The Raptors side, just for people that don't know, was originally just a Twitter page, and then I said it was just how I ran, and then we switched into the YouTube podcast, and obviously that's a bigger platform, a lot cooler, a bit more fun. But the Twitter is definitely something that we want to get back on the go, prime time. So definitely with this new year, and Riker and I have been able to chat face to face, and that's where you get stuff done. And that's getting revamped up. And Instagram, the posts, we've been keeping good with the stories, but the posts have been a bit inconsistent. So that definitely check those two out. We're really excited about the stuff happening on that front. So check them out. You guys are the best. I'm signing off. Cheers.